Hello, hello, YouTube Thrivers. We are live from Melbourne, Australia. Hello, let me know that you're there. Okay, I'm going to get the chat started. Let me know that you are there, Violet. Okay, we are live and we're going to have an amazing conversation about trauma today. It's going to be quite a quantum conversation. All right, so we've got some people coming in. Okay, just going to. All right, let me know where you're from, the people that are in the chat. And today we're going to be talking about trauma, not just the obvious trauma and where we think trauma comes from, but where it comes from the deeper levels and why it's so important to tackle trauma at that deeper level to actually really heal from narcissistic abuse. So hi, Brenda, good to see you here. Okay, good to see you here. And everybody else that is coming in. We've got Kari from California. It's beautiful to see you. And hopefully we've got some of our Thrive members in here, which is always so, so lovely to have people that are across quite a few different platforms and doing the deep inner Thriver work. It's really, really lovely to do. All right. So just waiting for a couple of people to come in. And a lot of you are going to pick this up in the replay, which is going to be really, really awesome. And I just want to say before I get going, we've just concluded a group of Thrive members that we did 10 weeks of deep boot camp inner healing. And it was the most extraordinary experience. And we've had lots of people, even people that were working on NARP and have been in the community for a while, who had massive, massive breakthroughs, which is just so exciting. It's really, really beautiful. Okay. All right. We're just waiting for a few more people to come in. Okay. Hey, we got quite a few people. So Brenda was in Thrive and she said it was amazing. Okay. Oh, Truth Seeker loved Thrive and loved having you all there. It was really quite emotional having to end the 10 weeks. But there is another Thrive session coming up in September, which we're going to be telling everybody about. And I just want, any of you who are new to the Thriver way to heal and to my work, just make sure that you like and subscribe. Definitely subscribe to this channel so that you're going to hear about all the new things that are coming out. And also, too, you can get my free newsletter, which is packed full of so many things. And that's melanieevans.com/free course. And it gives you 16 days of free emails and lots of clarity, lots of relief, and really helps you understand what's been going on with narcissistic abuse. Okay, beautiful. All right, so Team Gert, I'm sorry. Team Gert, after 5 months, my narc was suddenly texting me, had a death, and he's texting and calling for support. Yeah, big middle finger, exactly. That's so good that you're not getting hoovered back in. All right, so let's talk about where trauma comes from. So, of course, we really do believe that trauma is what that person is doing to us. And it is. It's very traumatic. When you're in a narcissistic abusive relationship, there are things that narcissists do emotionally, mentally, spiritually, financially, and even physically that are off the charts. They are completely inhuman. We are reeling with the shock of how low they can stoop and where they can go to and what they can do. And there are things that we logically can't even seem to wrap our minds around or be able to even hold how it's possible for somebody to do things that they do and how they can lack conscience and they can lie so horrifically and then double down on lies and be so malicious with their actions and their name calling and their horrific emotional abandonments and turning on you like you're the enemy. And the list goes on and on and on and on and on. And it's incredibly traumatic. It is like a soul rape, what we go through with narcissistic abuse. And I am not kidding. I'm not being dramatic. Those of you that have been through it, you know what I'm saying. You might have gone through the shocking things in your life that you did recover from, but yet this takes trauma to a whole other level. Now, what I want you to understand, because it helps you take your power back and it gives you an ability to heal, is to be able to have a deeper, wider conversation and understanding about this. Because what I'm going to share with you today is the very premise of Thriver healing, which means healing from the inside out, which means that not only can you get free of the trauma symptoms, which are horrible, such as PTSD, agoraphobia, fibromyalgia, adrenal malfunction, diminished trust in yourself, life, and others, the inability to be able to recover from the losses emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, financially, which is very common in narcissistic abuse if you don't know how to heal in a quantum way. And also the ongoing anxiety and depression, which you just can't seem to get out of. And feeling like you're trauma bonded, which means that I've got the obsessive thoughts about it, I can't get out of it, and I never get to a resolution and a closure with this. They are very real symptoms of trauma. Now, if we just look at trauma, this is going on inside of me because of what happened to me, then we can't shift it because you are staying a victim, which is totally understandable. And I was there for a long, long time as well. We stay a victim to what happened to us without being able to get a shift out of it inside of us. To get a shift out of it from inside of us, we need to understand a bigger, deeper conversation about trauma. And that's exactly what my work is about. If you come into my free webinar, which is melanietoniaevans.com/free webinar, you have a 2-hour workshop for free on all of this, which is going to take it even deeper for you. And I completely suggest to you that if you haven't found resolution for your trauma yet, I cannot recommend this free event enough, because you're going to understand what is really going on. Okay, so again, it's melanietoniaevans.com/free webinar. You can find a time in the webinar schedule as soon as you sign up, which is going to help you get in a time that works for you. You can get the replay and watch it at any time, but it's going to open your eyes and your heart to the truth. And it's like the old saying, the truth sets you free, and I promise you it does. Okay. And we're going to touch on what all of that is about today. Okay, so trauma is not just about what happened to us. If you can open your mind and your heart and your soul to a truth of trauma in our life is happening in repeat. And to understand that, we need to understand that a quantum truth of so within, so without. And the people that worked with the Ho'oponopono beliefs, the Hawaiian beliefs, spiritual beliefs, have pretty much got it right. That if there is a quantum truth of whatever is going on in my inner being is actually to do with my belief systems, the existing composition of my inner self, which means I'm going to meet more of my inner self in my outer world, because it's all energetically connected. It's all a big energetic hologram of so within, so without. And what that means is I can't have anything in my outer experience unless there is something in my inner experience that matches it. And this is especially true if it triggers me, if it ignites and hits something within me. Because the real truth in narcissistic abuse recovery, when we've done the inner work on those inner beliefs and existing traumas and we heal them to completion, Then what happens is when we receive behavior on the outside that is not a match for our internal traumas, there's no trigger. We can stand true and solid without being derailed into our emotional wounds. And we can say, you know what, buddy, that's just not me. I don't accept that. It's not for me. You are not my reality. My truth is this. And that's when narcissists have zero effect over you anymore. You no longer feed them narcissistic supply. You no longer wrestle with them and roll around with them and fight with them, trying to change them or fix them or defeat them to get yourself back, because you've got yourself back. That's what true thriver healing is. And then they dissolve out of your experience because they're no longer a match for your inner being. You no longer play the game, and you stand true and solid and build your thriver life, which they are absolutely powerless to affect. Even if you're parallel parenting. That's what our Thriver community is all about. That's what you've got to look forward to. But you can't get to that until you understand what is going on in the deeper quantum world with trauma. Okay? And what is going on in the deep quantum world with trauma is we are humans having a human experience. We are souls having a human experience as a human. And what happens is on this planet, which is a very painful planet, just have a look at it, which is filled with trauma. There has been unspeakable trauma. There still is unspeakable trauma. And as far as I'm concerned, if you are here and you don't have trauma, you've done a lot of work on yourself, because trauma has been our ancestors' experience. It's the human collective experience. Women have had trauma. Men have had trauma. We've all had a lot of trauma. So for us personally, where has our trauma come from? And when you understand the quantum world and work at a quantum healing level, trauma comes from our ancestral trauma. And incredible neuroscientists and quantum experts such as Bruce Lipton and Joe Dispenza and the late Candace Pert and Bessel van der Kolk and other people who are really groundbreaking in trauma healing and management. We're really healing rather than management. I'm not a fan of trauma management. I'm a fan of trauma healing so that we just don't have it anymore and we burst free from it. These people understand that what happens is we don't just inherit eye color, skin color, hair color, we also inherit emotional predispositions. We inherit belief systems. We may have inherited trauma consciousness, which means an enlarged amygdala at the back of your brain, which means that you are wired into an expectation of trauma. And interestingly enough, what usually happens is in the families that have got trauma experience of narcissism or codependency or conditional love or punishment or the fears of crap, criticism, rejection, abandonment, and punishment for being yourself, which is very big wounds that set us up for narcissistic abuse, then what happens is that we're born into a family with these terrors on board. If I'm myself, I'm going to be annihilated. I'm going to be invalidated. I'm going to get hurt. I can't be myself. I have to be a certain role, which means I'm either going to be a codependent, which means that I'm going to please people to try and get safety, love, approval, to get approval, love, safety, and security. I'm going to have to please other people to get those things, or I'm going to have to turn into a narcissist and create a fictitious character and try and control all of my environment to get those things. We're going to go one way or the other. Now, for us here, we definitely went the first way. We tried to twist ourselves into 100 different shapes to try to please other people so that they could be the parent to fix our inner child so that we could get safety, love, approval, survival, security. All of this is to do with trauma. So most of us were born with it, and then we end up in a family that we is exactly going to be a match for the trauma. So this is what's happened. Now, there's even a deeper level. And for those of you who believe in past lives, and I completely and utterly do believe in past lives, is that we have had past life experiences, generally with the same people, just in different clothes and settings and skins, where we didn't heal our trauma and take back our power and stand in our sovereign power and truth. And we ended up enmeshed with these people, trying to fix them and change them to be safe and loved and get survival and security. Right. And they were false sources rather than heal it between ourselves and full source. True source, which is creation, love, God, well-being, life force, Bob, whatever you want to call your higher power and your higher consciousness. That infinite source of well-being, opportunity, synchronicity, miracle, and power that is who we really are, unless we're disconnected from it in our trauma, trying to resolve our trauma with the exact people who are traumatizing us. That's the deal with narcissistic abuse. We've been locked into repeat patterns of trauma. So let me put it to you very, very simply this way. I'm just going to roll the chat down because I can't see it. All right. So let me put it to you this way. Let's say I have the trauma, which I definitely used to have. The people I love abandon me and leave me to die, literally. I had deep, deep abandonment traumas from past life, from my childhood, that were very unresolved and were red hot triggers. So what would happen was I would get with people who absolutely matched the people I love, abandon me and leave me to die. Okay, it was one of the biggest things that narcissists would pull on me. You know, when you're going through the cycle of violence with a narcissist, which is about, tension builds, episode happens. Often the episodes were abandonment because it would trigger me into massive panic and granting them attention, which is AAA grade narcissistic supply. So, and it would be used to punish me. It would be used to turn off the phone and run to another supply and play up behind my back, and then I'd be sending 30 messages because I'm a broken little 3-year-old or a past life woman about to die, literally energetically in my body, unresolved, who was running my race. The mature, healed, solid source self wasn't there on that topic for me to be sane. I was drunk in the triggers of adrenaline and cortisol and panic and survival programs. This is why, and we love the people who represent that, because it is literally the people I love equals these huge emotional patterns that have impacted me dramatically. They're the big charges. They're the programs. They're the subconscious programs. And if they're not healthy, it's to do with trauma. And often the trauma, it's always the trauma is not just the logical trauma, because the logical trauma is, these people do shocking things to me and walk out the door. Now, when I'm stuck in that, these people do shocking things to me and they walk out the door. These people do shocking things to me and they walk out the door. When I'm there, okay, how am I going to change the potential next 20 people that walk into my life who are an exact match from my inner love code that I've never healed? How am I going to do that? How am I going to get over it? How am I going to heal it? How am I going to walk on 10 years into my life and I'm still not running these obsessional triggers and traumas through my head, and I don't have the terror of, I don't want to get into another relationship ever again because that was just so painful. I haven't recovered. I've still got PTSD through what happened. I've still got my adrenal malfunctions. I'm still that shattered and battered and still so traumatized because trauma doesn't clean up. It's by itself. Trauma is like housework. If it's not attended to, it just gets worse and worse. And it's the same with the trauma in our inner being. So in that story, of course, I'm traumatized because of what you do to me. And it was disgusting and it was shocking. But if I stay stuck in that trauma, that story, there's no way out of this. And that's what I found stunning and shocking, because until I learned to turn it around 180 degrees and get to the bottom of my trauma and heal it, I was going to therapy. I was going to healings every week. I was on food plans. I was doing everything. I was getting up every morning and I was meditating and I was omming and I was having oil baths and I was writing gratitude lists and I was saying mantras over and over and over and over again. And yes, sometimes I'd get a bit of relief, but it didn't get me out of my trauma. It didn't get me out of the pattern and it didn't heal me. And I still felt addicted and hooked to him horrifically, which is the trauma bonding of our trauma. And and I felt like I was going schizophrenic because I'm saying to myself, I know how disgusting he is. I know what he does to me. I know how horrible it is to get the rug pulled out from under me. I'm an intelligent, and I thought intelligent, mature woman who I can handle every area of my life. But why do I keep running back to him? Why do I want him? Why can't I get him out of my head? Because I hadn't resolved my trauma match to him. That's why. Am I making sense? Because I know, gosh, I've dealt with thousands of you, helping you over the last 10 plus years. Am I making sense? So we've got to get out of this story. We've got to get out of this story of my trauma is because of this. The true story, the wider, deeper, more powerful story is this person is delivering to me the exact traumas that I already had on board. And what that means is it doesn't mean that I'm defective, that I'm wrong, that it's my fault. It just means I've had these traumas on board because I've been born on this planet. I'm having a human experience. There is a ton of trauma and crap that's gone on here, and I've picked it up. And the real thing is the true me, my true source self is God, is source, is creation, is oneness, is whole. So this trauma was never mine anyway. It was implanted into me from experiences from others who were carrying their trauma, who got it from somewhere, who got it from somewhere, who got it from somewhere, who got it from somewhere. And the truth is, trauma has impacted the whole human race, and we've all got it to various levels. And the only difference between us and them being the narcissist, is we are willing to take responsibility for our trauma and the radical personal responsibility of saying, if the trauma is in my body and it's in my experience, only I can deal with it. And if I try to hold other people's responsible for it to fix my trauma when they're not even fixing their own, I'm going to be a victim and I'm going to be traumatized for the rest of my life. And I don't want to play that game anymore. I actually want to get free from my trauma and have an amazing life. And, hand on heart, I am a poster child for thriving, as so many other people are in this community and in the Thrive Away to Heal, because we got sick of playing the outside in game and we said, all right, okay, you got me. The only way out of this is to play the inside out game, is to really, really recognize quantum law without judgment. So within, so without. If this has happened in my experiences, it's impacted me and it's smashed me, it's because there's something inside of me I can heal to release myself from the trauma of this experience, all of the symptoms and diminishment that's occurred, and to ever have to go through these again. Now in my life, I thrive. I have a beautiful partner. I have an amazing son who runs this whole company. My family's incredible. I have a whole global tribe. My life is sane. It works. It's healthy. I'm healthy. I have zero symptoms. I have more courage and capacity than I've had in my whole life. And I was told in my breakdown, I would never recover. I would need 3 antipsychotics for the rest of my life. And I'd be lucky to function at 40% capacity, even on the antipsychotics. And of course, it would have been much, much worse. I wouldn't be here because I understood the quantum truth. Okay, so the quantum truth. Oh, and I love what Kari said. I love you've written that. It's just so beautiful. Let me just say what Kari has written here because it's so powerful beyond measure. Kari has said, from today onwards, I take my power back and I accept that if the wounds are inside me, these are mine and only I can heal them. By doing so, I can and will set myself free. All right. Oh my God, Kari, that is so beautiful. You know? Okay. All right, Joseph, you missed the chat. You're going to be able to, it's going to be up on YouTube. So you can go back to the start of it and watch the whole thing because it's really important, this conversation. It's very, very powerful because the truth is going to set you free. Okay. So when we let go of you created my trauma, two, you have shown for me the trauma that I already had on board that was deeply unconscious and it was my normal. You know, I was going along in life thinking it was okay. And I was surviving with my trauma because it was my normal. So I might have had disappointing experiences. Before the narcissist, I might have had these things that were very impactful, but maybe on a lesser level. Or maybe it's been going on my whole life. You know, my family have been this. I've experienced this. My love partners have been this. Or maybe my love partners weren't, but my family still is. Maybe it's authority. Because you know what? Narcissistic abuse can come through any avenue or every avenue. It doesn't matter. It's not important where or who or what or how. What is important is what have we got going on inside of us that's a match for it. Not meaning we're bad people, not meaning we don't have a conscience and we're malicious and we lie and we're disgusting. Yes, there may have been times in the battle we've stooped and done things we are so not proud of. Please know how normal that is. But what I'm saying is that you don't have the integrity to be that at your core and your character. That's not what I'm saying when I'm saying you're a match for it. What I am saying is that you've had unresolved traumas in your being from your past, genetic, energetic, emotional makeup, which are things like the people I love destroy me, invalidate me, abuse me, leave me, replace me, abandon me, annihilate me. Because you've had in your emotional, vibrational, previous makeup, those traumas have already existed, whether you inherited them from your family, whether you had those terrible experiences in past lives, whether you've experienced them as a child, whether you've had them in your young adult relationships, or maybe even in your young adult relationships because you had those traumas on board. You met somebody really lovely and you sabotaged it because you couldn't accept it. Because this is the other thing too that is so important to understand. When we have an inner love code or interpersonal relationship code that's based in trauma, even in regard to a job or friendships, you can't accept healthy and genuine because it doesn't match your inner love code. So you are going to sabotage good jobs and good friendships and potential healthy, fulfilling relationships because we're always choosing the match to the inner program. And then we stay enmeshed in the inner program. And enmeshed means this: I'm in this inner program that's not serving me. It's intensely painful, but I can't let go of it. And I'm holding other people responsible for it. And that is the absolute definition of unconsciousness. In other words, we haven't woken up to the truth yet. And I was there for years and it nearly killed me because it was everybody else's fault. And fault's got nothing to do with responsibility. It's just a victim statement. And when I realized, hang on a minute, There's an inner program here. I can't change all of these people, and it's actually not my responsibility. It's not even my right. That's between them and God or source or higher power, whatever you want to call that force. But what I can do is I can change me. And if I change me, I can change everything. And I promise you, with every ounce of my micro being, that when you start changing you, everything changes. Completely unconditional on what anybody else is or isn't doing. It's a complete fallacy that the generation of your life is dependent on what others are or aren't doing. Okay? And if you can cut, and this is why I really want to, again, share that link with you, my free webinar, melanietoniaevans.com/free webinar, because not only do we really pull this apart and look at it at that quantum true energetic level of what's really going on, I also take you through a quantum healing, which is quantum freedom healing, which is the master stroke, humbly, in this community that heals what we can't logically heal. Because what it does is it gets those traumas and those programs out of your being and brings in the source connected truth to replace them, which gives you instant shifts on every topic in your life where you have felt powerless, where you are handing your power away, where you're obsessing, where you can't get out of the trauma. And when you start doing that, a powerful shift starts to happen very, very quickly in getting you out of trauma and into true self, which is who you are without all of those layers of trauma. You are a beautiful, incredible diamond underneath all of those layers of mud and junk, which is the trauma. Okay. All right. Am I a Capricorn? No, I'm not a Capricorn. I'm Libran. Okay. Now, this is how about we do, if you have any questions about this, let's dig into them. Let's dig into them. All right. So, Team Gert. All right. This is the most eye-opening words I've ever consumed in my entire life. And Team Gert, it really changes things because it makes it very, very simple that I'm just repeating my unresolved trauma. And if I resolve that deep trauma at its core and at its roots, well, then I'm not going to keep repeating this. I'm going to have different choices and attractions, and things will either be they won't be my reality anymore. You know, that shiny narcissist that's representing your inner love code is going to be awful. Like, it'll be like, yuck, that's not jiving me anymore. All right. Okay. All right, Team Gert, I'm okay talking about my status. I have to own it, my 50%. I also have to own my trauma, combine the two. I feel like an eagle about to soar from a cliff. You know, and I know how people say, well, 50% of it's mine. And it's I just love taking it to the quantum level that you are a catalyst in my life, smashing my unhealed traumas so that I can heal and set myself free from not just you, but from every limitation in my life where I've been handing my power away and I haven't been my highest and my truest self. I don't even look at the percentages of who's who in the zoo. To me, it's just like you've just woken me up to what I need to heal and resolve. Not for you and not because this is my fault we're not working. It's just so that I am no longer going to participate with, a lower vibrational dark being who's a false self. Because by resolving me, if you had the ability to step into true self and true life with my boundaries and my commanding, which is now this is who I am and this is my values, come and join me here. And if you don't want to, that's fine. But I won't accept less than how I love myself now. That's what happens when we start thriving. And people who have capacity rise up, and people who don't, we say, okay, That's fine, but you're not for me anymore, and I wish you all the best, narcissist or not. Okay, let's have a look. All right. I'm living with the narc parents and trying to heal with NARP to leave them. My contact is modified, but I still forced to oblige to her rules sometimes to keep them from destroying me. And Daya, yeah, there's so much you can do with detachment and healing. And there comes a time where you just have to go. No, because it's quite you can heal while you're in the same vicinity, but of course it's harder. So just, and sometimes we have fears of security, of course, and all sorts of things. But what you find is where you honor you and when you get the space away, that's when everything can come into support and help you nourish and flourish yourself. Sometimes we think we have to be at a certain level to be able to leave because that's security fears. But if you work on the security fears and the security is me and source as a combination, and when I honor my soul, source honors me in all ways, always, then you will be fine. Okay. All right. So, how do I talk to my friends about their narcs and their lives? Don't. Just focus on your own healing, Jessica. We're not here to fix and change other people. We're here to fix and change ourselves and just lead the way. Okay. If you're a shining light working on your authenticity and your thriving, people will want more of that. And if you have boundaries, well, then the narcs don't get into your life. But if you're trying to change other people's lives so that you can have a good life with them, well, then that's handing your power away. Okay. CPTSD sucks. It does. But I promise you, when you heal the thrive away, it melts away. I had it through the roof. Okay. Okay, Kathleen, I really want you to have a look at NARP. MelanieToniaEvans.com/NARP. We have thousands and thousands of people on it that had CPTSD. I was one of them who don't have it anymore. It is a lie that you will have CPTSD for life and you have to just try to manage it. It is not the truth. So have a look at NARP, and if you want to know more about NARP, come into the free webinar, have a healing, and you're going to start to experience relief and clarity very quickly, even with that first healing in the webinar. So many people report once they do that, they say, "Oh my God, I found it. This is going to work." Okay, so really, I want you to check that out. Okay. I'm just scrolling up. All right, Kari. All right. Are you on NARP for the physical pain in your heart? It means you need to go deeper. You need to go deeper. You need to get to the beliefs and the traumas that are totally generating that, and then it will be gone. So on NARP and in the NARP members forum, you can get help with that to really get to the bottom of that. Because once you've released the trauma that's generating that pain in your heart, it won't be there anymore. You'll be free from it. Okay. I'm still getting clear on the topic, the trauma the nut was giving me to see what my inner belief is to clear. Yeah. And the more you do the inner work at the quantum level with quantum freedom healing, you have so many epiphanies because something they do that is so painful, that was an obsession that you just couldn't resolve, when you target the trauma in your body generating that, and then you see, feel, and know, it's like, oh my God. These were the beliefs I was carrying. This is what happened in my previous history. Is it any wonder that that's happened again? And it just blows your head apart in a really good way, because you're like, oh my God, this was going on within me. So how long does it take to heal if your entire life has been shared with narcs? That's such a good question. And what I will say to you is that when you start working with quantum freedom healing, the relief usually comes quite quickly. There's people within weeks and months. start to feel a massive shift and a massive change of your life force and your soul returning to you. But the truth is, healing is a lifetime event. Okay, the personal development of feeling trauma in our body, letting it go, bringing in source, which quantum freedom healing is a massively, incredibly powerful tool to do it. I still let go of trauma and bring in source, not from the narcissist, like that's long gone, and the previous stuff in my life and my family and my childhood and my past lives, that stuff is cleared up. Although there are things now still, and especially with what's going on in the world at the moment, that can trigger me, that I need to heal and release, and I bring in the light and I feel so much better about it. So I will say this to you, usually within 6 months of people, even people that all they've ever known is abuse, the change in who they are is amazing. Within 18 months, your life is completely unrecognizable when you work with quantum freedom healing. That's generally what happens. Okay. And different people, it's faster. That's being conservative. All right. I want to have a relationship with Daniel Ray, who has 1 degree less trauma than I'm experiencing now. Okay. Do you know what, Daniel? The relationships that we choose and we invest in are the ones that match our inner being. So, when people say, where do you meet somebody, or how do you meet somebody, or which dating site? Okay, well, clearly you wouldn't put yourself on a hustling dating site just looking for straight out sex, because that's going to put you right in a pit with narcissists. But the thing is, it's who are you being? Where are you at with yourself and source? Because that's what you're going to choose, participate in, and generate. Absolutely. This isn't about other people. It's actually always about self, and that's taking your power back. Okay. All right. I'm just going through. Yeah, Kari, that's great that you've applied for a sponsorship. That's awesome. I'm really pleased that you've done that. Truth seeker, my skin has gone all dry and saggy due to stress. Absolutely. When you get the stress out of your body, the toxicity leaves your cells, and then they have room for oxygen and nutrients. People get so much younger and fresher when they start working with NARP. We see it all the time. It's like age reversal. I have people now, I'm nearly 55, and I had people who met me when I was who knew me at 40 that I hadn't seen for years, and they're like, "Oh my God, you look better now than you did then." And I do. I feel so much better too. Living free. Can you start the program if you sign up for 30 a month? Absolutely. As soon as you get on the small NARP payment, you get the full program and full access to the Global NARP Members Forum, which is your 24/7 support network of the best narcissistic abuse minds in the world for your recovery, to hold your hand through co-parenting, anything, stalking threats, whatever it is that you're battling. Even if you've left the narcissist 30 years ago and you're still suffering the trauma, and even if you're still with the narcissist, for that small amount monthly, you get the program today. You get access to the forum for help and support, and your journey to heal from the inside out, which is everything we're talking about today, can start today. So it's not like a lay-by. You have to pay it off and then you get it. You get it immediately, and it's fully guaranteed, money back guaranteed. If it's not for you, you've lost nothing from trying. But what if one who was considered as a narc is now feared in his community of being a narc? Okay, I'm not sure what that means. Will I never know the real me, especially since being in narcissistic abuse relationships all my life? Felicia, I love that question. Absolutely, because the real you just is. The real source you just is. It is infinite, it's eternal, and it's indestructible. It just is. And that's the you who knows how to make life and work in holistic ways and honor your soul and honor the entire field. That's the organic, natural essence of who we all are. It's just we've had trauma pile on top that stopped us having that experience. And this is what I love about this work is you don't have to learn how to be yourself. All you have to do is unlearn and let go of all the crap that stopped you being you. Underneath the rubble, you already are. You just are. And we find this time and time and time again. And I found it with myself. I'd never had it modeled to me how to do love healthily, how to do boundaries, how to respect myself, how to not treat myself like a workhorse and a commodity and have to earn approval. That was all my programming. And when I let go of all of the traumas that the narcissist had smashed for me and let them go and came back to source, I organically settled into being who my being is. I didn't have to learn it because it's already there. Does that make sense? Okay. See, this is what's been wrong with the psychological model is we leave the trauma in there like a rusty old car in the garage. We try to drive a Lamborghini in over the top, which is our true self, true life, and we can't because it's clogged up. So therefore, rather than releasing the trauma and just bringing in source the true self and the Lamborghini, we're trying to learn to be different when our wiring is focused on the traumas. And we feel like we're schizophrenic. Why aren't I healing? Why can't I change this? I've spent $30,000 on psychology and seminars and training and reading books. And this is my life, by the way. This was my life. And I've done all of this and I've done all of that. And I've been, a personal development student for 30 years. That had been my life. Well, actually, it was around 22 years. All my life, I've been working on myself, and yet I kept running into narcissists and ended up with a big bad wolf. Why? Because I'd never resolved my inner trauma. That's why. And I felt like I was a failure, or I felt like God had cursed me, or I felt like I was on the wrong planet because it didn't work. This does. Okay? So I want you to have hope. This is all about unresolved trauma. Unresolved trauma from genetic history, past lives, childhood, the human collective. And what is so great about quantum freedom healing, which is in all of my programs, is that it finds it at all of those levels in your cellular energetic being. It picks it up, it gets it out, and it replaces it with source. So you're losing the fear and the pain, and you're gaining the love and the truth and the power, which shifts you out of who you were being into who you were born to be. And it works. It works. So for those of you who've never done that work, and I promise you, years ago, I've been doing this for 13 years now. My life is amazing. But you know what? If somebody had told me 13 years back about this, I would have thought they were a lunatic. I would have thought, no way. It doesn't make sense. Because I wasn't open enough to hear it. And I wouldn't have tried it. I was one of these people that needed to be smashed to my lowest point where I nearly died to finally get it. That this is an inside job and this is about trauma. Before then, I wasn't open to it. Okay. But have a look. And this is why the free webinar is so good, because you're going to go on a journey of deeply understanding it and seeing it in such simple, logical terms. You'll think, why didn't I know this? And then you'll go through a healing about reversing your trauma, which is so beautiful, so supportive and so loving and very powerful. Okay. Why do we even go through the soul journey anyways? Why does our soul start off trauma free and choose to go back only to come back to healing? Because we wanted the experience. And also, Dea, here we have on our planet, we're going from a 3D to a 5D ascension. We're going from darkness to light. And a lot of us wanted to come in here and really, really submerge in the darkness, to hold it in our body, to release it and bring in source and light, not just for ourselves, but for our children, humanity, the collective, and the planet. We are here to transcend the darkness into light. A lot of us signed up for this. And a lot of us, even in utero, were kicking and screaming and thinking, oh my God, what was I thinking? Because it hasn't been easy, and it's not easy. But there's nothing else to do to free ourselves and free the oneness. What a great question. Yeah, Kari, it makes perfect sense to me. I've been completely smashed. Maybe that's why the truth speak to me now. Do you know what, Kari? What you just touched on there is so powerful. When we've had enough of the pain and when we've been smashed and broken open, that's usually we can hear the truth. And so many people in this community, when they've come forward and they are just at the bottom of the rung and they're just, that's really when we surrender. That's the time of personal catharsis. It's when life can no longer go on as normal. That's actually when we're open to banging two fishes above our head if we thought it could help us. Because it's that place of nothing else I've tried has worked. I'm open to look at whatever I can. And the great stuff about this is you're not Robinson Crusoe. We've got 13 years of runs on the board. You can go into any of my social media platforms. You can see people screaming NARP from the rooftops. You can go onto my website and have a look at the real life testimonies. We've got tons of them. You can Google Site Jabber, which is like a website review. And I think I've got the number one therapy 5 stars in the world, humbly. So the runs are on the board. And I remember back in the day, Cami, I had to discover this. It's not like I had the epiphany that it was an inside out job and my recovery came like that. It took me 18 months of crawling a millimeter at a time. Sometimes it was second to second, drug free after a complete adrenal psychotic breakdown. And I ended up being 80 pounds. I was a bag of bones. My hair had fallen out in clumps. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. I shook, I sweated, I couldn't even function. It took me millimeter by millimeter, but I knew because I had the epiphany that this was about internal trauma and I had to work out how to heal it, and I did. And at that point, I thought I was just saving myself. I didn't realize that this was going to be a tool for now that has touched the lives of around 7-8 million people. No, and is in 130 different countries. I had no idea that was going to happen. So I really want to say to all of you out there, if you've had enough of the pain and you are willing to try something that does work, and it can work for you, have a look at it. Come into my webinar, okay? All right. Yeah. All right. Are there any other questions before we end today's session? Yeah, and if you've had enough, you've had enough. It's like daylight comes after the deepest part of night. When we're at the bottom, it's actually a good thing because we've gone as low as we can and it's time for resurrection. If you've had enough of the pain, it's time for resurrection. Okay. Yeah. Right. When is the next Thrive course? It's going to be in September. We're going to be starting it. So we're going to have a month and a half off. And then, and Willow Way, we're going to be releasing all of that. Yeah. All right. Is there any other questions? Yeah. Faye, I'm so glad. Yeah. And you did the webinar and the resources, and they've saved your life. Yeah, Kathleen, we would love to have you as part of our NARP community. It's such a beautiful community. Yeah, it's your time, and if you feel that, if it's calling you in your heart, and then our head comes in and gives us all the excuses not to honor ourselves, listen to your heart, listen to your inner being. If it's calling you, then check it out. All right. Yeah, Jessica, I can't wait to have you in Thrive. It's going to be so awesome. Yeah. And we do need help. Narcissistic abuse is mental. There's nothing like it. It is literally a spiritual war for your soul. It's huge. And this is why it just can't be dealt with on that logical surface outside in level. It just doesn't even scrape the edges. It's a much deeper soul spiritual phenomena. Okay. And most people won't even talk to you about it at that level. They don't get it at that level. But, fortunately in this community, we do. That's why it's been so successful in the unprecedented healings for people that come through the Thrive Away to Heal. Yeah. Yeah. And Jessica's saying, my head was telling me I didn't have money. And the whole thing, NARP is highly affordable. I think it's less than 3 traditional therapy sessions. Plus, it's a it's a lifetime of resources, a 24/7 healing hub where you have support from thrivers from all over. Like, what comes with NARP is unbelievable. Plus, it's fully guaranteed. And every upgrade with NARP, whenever I get downloads of upgrades, you get all of them for life for free. And this is not just about getting over narcissistic abuse. This is about every limitation that's held you back in your life. Yeah. And please know too, even though it is a small amount for what you get, I know for a lot of you, you've had financial abuse. It's really big. And everything's connected: emotional, mental, spiritual, financial abuse. Once you start healing, well-being on every level starts to reset. If you honor your soul, source can honor you. Truly. You can sign up now for NARP, Kathleen. You can sign up at any time. Yeah. So it's just melanietonyevans.com/NARP, NARP. It is a spiritual war. It really is a spiritual war. And you're right, it is pretty biblical. Depending whether you're spiritual or biblical, it doesn't matter. It's all the same thing. It's a battle of light versus dark. Yeah. Oh, Willow Way, the support has been next to none. Thank you. Yeah. I love that. I'm so glad you feel supported. Can I reapply if I'm denied sponsorship? Kari, I can't see why you'd be denied sponsorship if you really, can't afford NARP. You'll be able to get sponsorship. Okay. Absolutely. You will. Yeah, no, you don't have to wait till you got the full amount. Just pay $35 a month and get going. Absolutely. And Violet has just said, Violet's me, but Violet is, our beautiful support staff. Yes, Kari, you can. You sure can get sponsored. Oh, Laurel, I'm so glad I signed up for NARP last August. I feel supported for all my life now. It makes such a difference. And we have so many people in the community that they've been hanging out for years in the community, and they go to my YouTubes and they read my articles, and it kind of, it helps support them. But I want you to know this: they have to keep coming back to feel supported, because the trauma's still there, because they haven't done the inner work to excavate it up and out with NARP yet. And then they get on NARP after sometimes 2, 3, 4 years, sometimes even more, and they get a massive acceleration in their healing. And then they say all the time, why didn't I start NARP earlier? And my answer to that is, well, it just wasn't your time. You hadn't had enough of the pain yet. We've been telling you to, but that's okay. It's like when you're ready, you're ready. Yeah. All right. Do we have another question? Okay. Della said, I had a major financial breakthrough from the Thrive Group, almost completely out of credit card debt. Thank you, NARP. Thank you, God. It's true. You definitely, people that work NARP, prosperity starts coming into their life. All the blocks go. It's really good. Janie, NARP is a life changer. Understatement. Thank you, Melanie. These are real people. They really are. Real people, real life shifts. That is so, so big. All right, darling people, I think that's it. I don't think we've got any more important questions. We're just on the hour. I hope this has made sense to you. You might want to go back and listen to it again just to really get the key points. And but what I think would be much, much better for you, those of you who are ready to hear the deeper, wider conversation and to get out of the trauma, come into the webinar. Come into the webinar, melanietoniaevans.com/free webinar. Come into the webinar and, make yourself a cup of coffee or something nice to drink. Sit there for 2 hours. I think it's 2 and a bit hours. And just really don't be disturbed and really pay attention and soak it up. It's going to make so much sense to you. And then you get the healing at the end and it explains NARP, what's in NARP. And for those of you who are just, you're that ripe, you're about ready to fall off the tree because you're just ready to heal and you know it and you want to, just go into NARP, come into the NARP members forum, and the support really is second to none. You're going to feel really held and supported. You don't have to do this alone. You really don't. This whole community is there to spread its wings around you and help hold you till you can fly yourself, and you will. It's going to happen pretty quickly. All right. All right, everybody. Love you so much. And thank you for, having the courage to have this true conversation. Take your power back. Take the radical responsibility to know that if the trauma's in my body, only I can heal it. Okay? And really take your power and your life and your soul back and your sanity. Okay, everybody. I love you so much. Have a beautiful morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are in the world, and thrive on, everybody. Love you so much. Bye-bye.